Hello, folks. Good evening. How are you today? We hope you've been having a great and fantastic weekend, just like we have been doing. Trying to take it easy, trying to keep it safe. COVID-19 is still very real, and there's been spikes in infections everywhere in the world. Well, not everywhere in the world, the United States particularly, because of what's been going on. All the protests and stuff and all that has led to a spike. And it's now becoming more imperative that people stay safe, keep a social distance, wash your hands, and as much as possible, keep a track of your health. Now, today, we are blessed to have a fantastic person. I'm going to announce him the way I'm going to announce the world heavyweight champion of the world when it comes to boxing, because he's just as great. He's a great person. A very humble personality. He is royalty. He's a philanthropist. He's a movie maker. He is an engineer in the petroleum industry, and he's from the Niger Delta. And we call him the Prince of the Niger Delta. Other people refer to him as the digital politician, simply because he's way ahead of the curve when it comes to Nigerian politics. He's done quite a lot when it comes to politics in his region where he comes from, which is the Niger Delta, particularly in River State, where for some strange reason, nobody just seems to see that. These are the type of people that we need in Nigerian politics to be able to move things forward in Nigeria, especially when it comes to being in tune with what is going on at the grassroots, being able to put a pin on the problem that you have in the grassroots. I'm going to be introducing into the studio Prince Tonye Princewill, whom we refer to as the Prince of the Niger Delta.
Habib, how are you?
I'm fine, thank you. And yourself?
I'm very well, thank you. I'm glad to be here. I really appreciate the honor and the privilege.
Oh, like I was telling the viewers, you are a very, very humble personality. It's shocking that we see people of your caliber in Nigeria who are still very down to earth and well rooted and are in tune with what is going on with the people. So it's our pleasure as well to have you on.
Thank you.
You're a man that wears many hats, plenty of hats.
True.
You are a politician. You're an engineer in the petroleum industry. You own your own business. You are into movie production. You're a philanthropist, the Princewill Trust, I believe.
Yeah, Princewill Trust.
How do you manage to juggle so many things at the same time? How do you manage to keep on top of things, being a family man?
Well, okay, so I'm glad you used that phrase, family man, because you're right, family is key.
Oh,
but, yeah. It's not that there's a secret to it so much as I delegate a lot.
Okay.
You mentioned that I quite enjoy partnerships. So where most people are into one-man businesses or businesses that they run completely, in my case, pretty much all my business is about partnerships. Whether it's in my politics, whether it's in my film or entertainment industry initiatives, whether it's in my philanthropy work, in each of these various sectors, I deal with partnerships. So I don't run them alone. And I've been fortunate enough to be able to find very good people who have helped me along the way. So yeah, the secret is really partnerships.
Oh, wow. So delegation is something that, a lot of people, especially where we come from, which is Nigeria, which they have been finding very difficult to deal with. And that has led to the type of political system that we have, where you have a really old guard that has totally displaced a whole generation. They have had no place to play. Well, I'm from that generation anyways. More or less no role to play. Last week on Thursday, we had on another young politician who done something like that as well, where at his age, and he's older than the French president, he was told to go and wait for his turn for a seat at the National
assembly.
Yeah.
So if Emmanuel Macron is that young, and then you're telling somebody who's close to 50 to go and wait for his turn, is it when you're not able to keep up with what is going on in the world that you now want to be able to run the affairs of government, especially in a country like Nigeria that has, that's so dynamic?
Well,
why do we have such issues?
You want me to answer that question?
Oh, yes, please.
Okay. Let me tell you, the first problem is in the thinking that you have to take permission from somebody else to serve your people. I mean, that is the wrong approach. I contested for governor in 2007. That's 13 years ago. I don't want to start talking about my age now. I don't want to confuse anybody, but at that age, I contested for governor, and if I had won, I would have been the youngest governor in Nigeria. Yeah. And I didn't go with any apologies. I didn't go seeking permission. I had the conviction and the presence of mind, maybe because I had spent a lot of time outside the shores of Nigeria, so I knew what was possible and I knew what was probable. So I didn't need permission. So what I would say to your previous guest and any young person who is seeking office is that we need courage. We need to be of a conviction that allows us to push for things, as opposed to a disposition where you wait for things to be given to you. I know that there are godfathers in politics, but there is nobody bigger than God the Father. So you really have to operate on conviction. And if you operate on conviction, I think you can go very, very far. It worked for me. I've been a conviction politician. And when people say to me, "Oh, how come you've done so much over the years, you've attained such heights over the years," I remind them, I said, I've never held a political office before, but my voice will be heard, not because I seek permission to speak, but because I insist that my voice must be heard. And I think the younger generation have to develop an attitude of conviction, because the future actually belongs to them. It doesn't belong to these old-timers. The future actually belongs to this generation and the generation coming. So why are you going to allow people to take decisions that affect a future where they will probably not be available? It doesn't make any sense.
Oh, yeah. So, but I did give it to him, though, because he stepped out of the box and he was like, you know what? I don't need anybody telling me what is and what isn't. It's time for me to step up and be able to do my thing. And he did.
Good.
He's putting in a lot of effort now in trying to change the narrative. So he's constantly talking about it. Now, he seems to have a lot, in common with yourself. And I don't believe in coincidence, but it just seems like mere coincidence now that he was on just a few days ago and you are on now. So probably because things are heating up in the political system in Nigeria, there are a lot of things coming to the fore, which is, very disturbing to people, and people are, much more aware nowadays.
Yes.
The way you have played politics has been so different that it will take an absolute idiot not to have noticed that you have done things very, very differently. You started out as a gubernatorial candidate in the AC, the Action Congress, if I remember.
Yeah.
Now, you were taking initiatives like getting a feel of the pulse of the people that you actually wanted to serve. You went as far as doing surveys to find out what their needs were, what it is that they would have actually loved to do. You even went as far as dipping your hands into your own pocket and taking people out for training abroad. What motivated you this much?
Okay, so I've been doing a lot of youth engagement, youth mentoring, youth empowerment for a long time. I started really actively doing stuff around that from about 2002. And it wasn't until 2007 that I contested for governor. But why I felt it was important to do a survey is that I don't really believe in the concept of just jump into office so that you can occupy office.
Okay.
I never saw office as an achievement. What I saw as an achievement was what you did when you were in office, or even what you did before you got into office. In other words, what are you contributing as an individual? So to me, achievement was always about what could you do. And my frustration was that I was engaging with youths, dealing with conflict resolution, resolving so many issues in a variety of areas, but I could only do so much. And I thought to myself, well, if these politicians are not going to get up and make things happen, then I'm going to become a politician and I'm going to make things happen. So when I did the survey, it was really because I wanted to understand what were the real needs. I didn't want to make assumptions as to what I felt the people wanted. I wanted to hear from the people. And so I engaged specialists who did a lot of groundwork and went around the various communities, went around the various local governments to find out what the people need. And it was quite interesting to find out that from local government to local government, the issues differed. They were not always the same. But one recurring theme that continued to hammer home is jobs, jobs, jobs.
And jobs.
So the absence of jobs is a major issue that affects the young people today. And some of us have had the opportunity of running businesses. We understand the employment climate. We understand the business climate. The largest employer of labor cannot be government. The largest employer of labor has to be small to medium scale enterprises.
Enterprises, yes.
And so I understood from the small to medium scale enterprise point of view what it would take for them to survive and create jobs. And I understood that the government had the responsibility to create that kind of an environment. So I went into elections with a clear idea of what needed to be done. Unfortunately, as the history books have shown, my popularity was irrelevant because elections are what they are. But it's important. It's very important that you set the standard. And even if your opponents cannot meet it, at least they know there is something to aspire to.
So you have come very close to becoming the governor of River State twice. The first time, from different opinions, the first time was your greatest opportunity. A lot of people have questions over the fact that you could have become the governor, but you actually did step down so that Rotimi Amaechi could become governor. Stating or quoting that, the enemy of your enemy is your friend. You were made an offer. Initially, you rejected that offer. Then the offer was now made to you again, but this time it was to actually thwart the opportunity for Rotimi Amaechi to become governor. What happened there? How did you give up that ambition? How did you give up that momentum?
Yeah, okay. So I think the underlying theme in all of that, and I can see you've done your research very accurately, the underlying theme that was pinning my decision was that it wasn't about me being governor. What it was about was my state moving forward.
Right.
I had achieved a lot outside of politics. So I wasn't coming into politics to take, I was coming to give. And so it wasn't for me a do or die situation. So that's the underlying theme. Now, having said that, I would not step back for somebody else to do that job unless I was convinced that the person was in tune with the ideals that I wanted to project. And so that was also there. But more importantly, you made reference to a quote, which I think is quite poignant. I never knew Amaechi before then. But
really?
I didn't know him before then. I had not any kind of interaction per se. I had met him, I said hi from a distance once or twice, but I didn't know him. He wasn't a friend of mine.
Okay.
But what I saw at that time was River State was in a mess. and I was contesting for governor because I was tired of that mess. And here was this guy who was in Ghana on exile, who was being harassed and intimidated by the same people who I felt had caused this mess. So when they offered me 1.5 billion and said I should take my case out of court against them, and I said no, it was a bit of a surprise to me when they came to me after they had been removed from office and said, "That's your case that we wanted you to remove. Please keep the case and continue to pursue the case. This time use it to remove."
Amazing.
And the reason they were so persistent is that I had a very good case. And God bless him, Asiwaju Bola Tinubu, helped me, funded me, gave me all the support, lawyers, legal, everything. So I had a very good case, and I was on the way to nullifying that election. So they came to me and said, not only will we give you 1.5 billion to keep your case, but we will also give you evidence to show how we rigged the election against you. So you can use these two things and remove Amechi from office. And I thought to myself, wow. But I quickly pinched myself. Number one, it's not about removing Amechi from office. They want to get back into that office. They want a situation where another election will be called, and then PDP will do whatever, and maybe Amechi will be tossed out, or they will go to some, their path I wasn't familiar with, but I knew that their intentions were not good. So I had to take a conscious decision. Amechi looks like he means well. At that period, I had interacted a bit with him. It looks like he means well. I'm not desperate to be governor. I'm desperate for my state to move forward. So maybe there's an accommodation we can have here.
Yeah.
Let me take my case out of the tribunal and allow Amechi to govern. And the biggest mistake I made, because I did consultations, Atiku at the time was in AC, he was the presidential candidate.
Yes.
Tinubu was the leader who was sort of carrying me along, because after the election, Atiku flew out of the country to Dubai. So Asiwaju was the man on the ground. I called both of them and I asked their advice. They both gave their consent. And in one of their cases, the person actually spoke to Amechi and said, Amechi, take care of Tonye, protect his political career. And as a result of that discussion, I now went back to my political family and I had a discussion with them. And we took a collective decision to do what we did. But the mistake I made was I forgot that I had lots of supporters in Rivers State.
Yeah.
On the ground. And there was no discussion with them. There was no engagement with them. I thought that by discussing with the political class and my political family, that was sufficient. It was a mistake I made. So lots of people who were rooting for me because they knew this PDP system of old and how it was, were very disappointed that I went and took my case out of court. And that's all they heard. They just heard it on the radio. Tonye Princewill has withdrawn his case. And many of them assumed I did it for money. But I didn't. I didn't take any money from Amechi. All I said to him was, I'd like to see these principles applied. I would like to see this happen. And he said to me, he said, Tonye, you tell me what you want to do. I said, look, I've done a lot of groundwork. I know what needs to be done. And so he said, we'll work together and we will move the state forward together, which is what we did. And many people will tell you, between 2007 and 2011, Rivers State was a harvest of opportunities and peace was restored and lots of good things happened. But you have to understand that I was naive to politics. I did not fully understand and appreciate the nuances.
Yeah.
And so that was a learning curve for me. But yeah, I didn't do it for money. I didn't take any appointment. I just literally sat back and advised from the corner. And to be fair to Amechi, he listened.
Oh, wow, he did.
He did, yes, he did.
Oh, so what I've found amazing in the entire drama is that a lot of people are still not forgiving you for that.
Yes.
Carrying stakeholders along sometimes can be a very tricky situation, especially when it comes to the masses, or rather people that look up to you. It's very difficult to win their confidence in the first place. So when you do win it and then you now lose it somewhere along the line, then it now becomes a sort of like a vicious cycle of having to start all over again.
Of course.
At some point, we're going to ask you, and we hope that you'll be able to answer us, on if you're still going to run, because there are two things that have happened so far. The first is that the 2015 elections was deemed to be the most violent elections in the history of Rivers State. And you were a very, very prominent player in that election period, the election episode. How did you manage to handle that type of great, I don't know what word to use, but more or less, it was so far away from your personality, what was happening, in Rivers State. You are known to be a nonconformist. You're known to be a gentleman, out and out. How did you see all that violence? Did it not just make you wish you could just pack your bags and run?
No. I've never been that kind. I come from one of the most violent parts of Rivers State. When we're talking about whether it's electoral violence, whether it's militancy, whether it's where I come from has been the heart and the soul of the violence. So I am not, let me use the word, naive to the reality.
Okay.
But let me give you some background, because 2015 didn't just happen. There was a build up to it. And
Okay.
if you recall, I said in 2007, I had stepped down for Amechi, and I sort of took a back seat. And so 2007 passed, we got to 2011, it was another election. And leading up to 2011, I said, I'm not going to run. Amechi has done well. I will continue to support him for another term in office.
Yeah.
Now, leading up to that, my own party, the Action Congress, came to me and started saying I should bring money from Amechi. I said, bring money for what? They said, you're close to him. Bring money now. He's your friend. I said, that's not the relationship we have. That's not the way I operate. I actually ended up having to set up a meeting between him and some of my leaders. I don't want to mention names. I said, please, you people should meet. Don't get me involved. After that, they still wanted me to bring money for them. I said, please, that's not the relationship I have. They said, but how can you be so close to this man and you're not pulling something out from him? I said, well, look, I'm in a different party. He's in his own party, I'm in my own party. I want to still retain the right to criticize where it is possible, but also to work with him where I can do so constructively. Now, they didn't understand that concept. To them, it's either you're fighting somebody or you're working with somebody. There's no collaboration of any kind. And so they told me, it was a threat. They said, if you do not bring money, we will take this party structure and we'll give it to somebody else. They mentioned Sergeant Awuse, they mentioned Abie Sekibo. All these are heavyweights of Rivers politics. Yeah. And they said that we will take the party from you and we'll give it to them, because this party, you alone are using this party to chop for yourself. Now, I looked at the situation, I said, I'm not challenging this man in 2011. So since I'm not challenging him in 2011, why am I sitting on a seat that is not going to provide a challenge to, what's his name? Amechi.
Yeah.
At the time, Atiku was leaving AC and going to PDP. So I used this as a perfect excuse. I left AC. And one of the reasons I left AC was I was very disappointed, because I thought that PDP was the bad one and AC was the good one. So I had this naivety in thinking that the political parties were different. So when I started going through these experiences in AC, I said, take your party. And I went to PDP. But when I went to PDP, I didn't go to PDP and sort of occupy a seat. I just drifted quietly into silence. I wasn't active.
Yeah. You're quite quiet.
I was quiet. Now, leading up to 2015, a lot of activity, so many things going on. I now told Amici, I said, you've done your 8 years. You're about to come to the end of your 8 years. I think it's time for me now to push for that #1 seat.
Yeah.
I've supported you, and I'd like it if you also support me. Amici said, well, no, I don't really think so, because, you know, my people, don't forget that he had his own PDP family.
Oh, yeah.
My people would expect that, you know, one of them should be the governor.
But was that the original arrangement that you had when you stepped down?
You have to understand that when I stepped down, it was unconditionally.
Okay.
I didn't put a gun to his head. I didn't demand anything. These are all things that people say, oh, you should have done. But it was not my disposition. I was supporting him because I felt it was the right thing to do. I wasn't supporting him because I felt that tomorrow he must support me. But I went to him saying that, having seen the support I have given to you, and considering my own role in your government and where we need the state to go, I think I'm best placed to continue the path. Anyway, to cut a long story short, he didn't support me. And to make matters worse, he came back to say him and Jonathan are not on the same page, and he wants to move out of PDP.
The PDP.
So, of course, it was my own turn to say, I'm not supporting you. If you want to govern River State, or you want a successor in River State, this path you're going will not lead to that successor. So I did not support him. So I remained in the PDP, and the history now says that that decision I took meant that he went to APC, I stayed in PDP, but after what Wike did and his conduct with the presidency in support of his conduct, I ended up fighting that election in the Labour Party just to send a message, because I was not going to work with Amechi in APC, and Wike had treated all other contestants who had contested with him in PDP as if they did not exist, with disdain. So I said it would be impossible for me to remain in this party called PDP that behaved like this. So I'm not going to APC, I'm not going to PDP, I'm going to be neutral. And then I took the ticket for Labour Party, and I now decided to contest the election as what you might call a neutral in the Labour Party. So the question you are asking, which is, how did I survive all that bloodshed and killing? Because APC and PDP, the fight was terrible.
It was a war.
The only highlight to that election was we had a live political debate between Wike, Gakuku Peterside, and myself. And I think that was an indication of where we were as a state. At the end of the day, somebody asked me, how was that election? I said there were more bullets than voters. It was a terrible. I can't imagine the number of people that would have died, but I'm sure there would have been more than 300. And my own situation was that none of the drama came near me. They kept to themselves. It was between APC and PDP. Not one person from my party was killed or had a scratch. And the warning I gave both of them is that if they come anywhere near me, then they will see the consequences. I maintained my lane. I'm not a violent person, but I am not afraid of violent people. So everybody stayed away from me. and we all know what happened. There was really no election, but INEC declared Wike the winner, and the Supreme Court supported it. We can go into the whys of all of that some other time, but that's what happened.
Now, for your personality, like I said, you're a very humble person. You know, that's from my personal interaction with you.
Thank you.
Then from seeing your interaction with other people as well.
Thank you.
One thing still stands out from all of this. You are in a very peculiar position simply because you are also a prince of one of the most important kingdoms in Nigeria. That puts a heavy burden on your shoulders in terms of seeing your people suffer as much as they are, quote and unquote, you know, and also being a politician and seeing these things and not truly being able to get into that seat and turn things around. It must, I don't know, I'm sure it's not, you know, a pleasant experience for you, seeing all these things, especially with this, the quality of leadership that is in River State right now.
Yeah, I mean, you've got to understand that for me, the standards I set are very high. So let's look around Nigeria. You go to a place like Lagos State, you say Lagos State is doing fairly better than most states.
Yeah.
But still, it's not good enough.
It's not. It's far from it.
Yeah, so you're looking at standards that are very high. So when I see what is going on in River State, of course, it breaks my heart, because that is a potential hub, not just for the country, not just for the region, but for the world, for the continent of Africa and the world. River State, Port Harcourt, is a major, could have been a major hub. And so it frustrates me. We have 2 seaports. We have 2 international, well, we have 2 airports. Let's just call them that. We have, you know, access to the east, access to the west. You know, we are a major hub, and we have not taken advantage of that. We have the population. We don't have just the population, but we have the educated population. So there's so many pluses, and we've not been able to fully utilize it. But one of the reasons why we've not been able to fully utilize it is we don't have political stability. We don't have political peace. River State is always in the news for the wrong reasons.
For the wrong reasons, yes.
Yeah, and some people take a delight in it. Often I try not to even comment when people ask me about Wike. I choose my moments to speak. I choose my moments to talk. Even within the APC, there are lots of drama, and people delight in talking about these things. When, to me, it's embarrassing. When I see people talking on the TV about River State, I expect them to be saying positive things. I expect the message to be progressive, but it's not. And we're so loud that our voice travels around the world. So even if you ask people about APC and APC states, they will tell you that, oh, Rivers APC is almost like its own branch of APC, and it has its own voice, very, very loud. So I find it to be quite uncomfortable. But you know, I'm one of those people. Like I told you, I delegate. If you're somebody who delegates, it means that you're not a control freak.
Yeah.
It means that you do not believe that everything must happen your way. It means that you're prepared to let go. So I see mistakes happen in my businesses. I see mistakes happen in my political activities. I see mistakes happen even in my philanthropy, in my investments. I see mistakes happen. But unless we learn to allow people make mistakes and correct them, they'll never learn.
True.
So the principle, whether it be in politics, whether it be in business, whether it be in philanthropy, the principle is to build teams. And I'm happy now, having done this over the years, that I now have people who can run things. So I'm here in the UK right now, but my businesses in Nigeria are functioning. Why are they functioning? every single business has individuals that are running it. So I'm playing a supervisory role. That's why I can get involved in politics and say my mind and speak my mind. That's why I can step back for an Amechi and go about my business without worrying, oh, is Amechi feeding me? And therefore, can I say what I want to say? Can I criticize him? I criticize him all the time. I even criticized him recently, but he's my friend. The reason I can criticize him is that I am not relying on him to feed myself.
Yeah.
And the reason I'm not relying on him to feed myself is because I have businesses that run with or without me. And so I think it's important that as much as you want and you desire for Rivers State, you have to recognize that you are not God. You are you, and you can only do so much. And who knows, maybe this is the direction that God wants you to pass to get to where he wants you to go. So I'm heartbroken about the reality. I don't blame the people of Rivers State. Many people say, Rivers people. No. I've witnessed these elections. They didn't vote. That's one thing.
No, no voting.
No. I mean, I won't say there was no voting. That's not correct.
Yeah.
But the will of the people is not reflected in the results that you hear.
Yeah.
So
They've been subdued.
Yeah, well, subdued, yes. Their view was subdued. Sometimes I can come here and vote. You and I can vote here, and we can choose that you should go and represent us. But when we go to count or finalize the votes in INEC, suddenly Michael Jackson won. Meanwhile, Michael Jackson was not there with us.
He was in the grave already.
So what I'm saying in effect is that whatever INEC announces, everybody else can go to court. And when you go to court and you pass the hurdles and you don't clear them, then whatever happened on the field is done and dusted. So the people of the state and the people of many states sometimes find themselves in a position where they're disillusioned. All right? It's not all the time. It's not across the whole constituency. You could be doing a state election of 23 local governments, and this can happen in about 7, 8, 9. Whereas in the others, there might have been some sort of an election. The point I'm trying to make is that the final results are not a reflection of the people's will.
Yeah.
In many cases. And it's unfortunate because these people who go out to vote spend 4 years thinking about what they're going to do. And when they go to the ballot box, they do what they do there with hope and anticipation of a change, but they don't always get it. So my thinking on it is we can't continue like this.
Obviously, it's a bit too much.
Yeah, a change will come. And if it's not going to be me that will benefit from the change, the next generation will. But I want to be in a position when my children ask me, Daddy, what did you do? What did you say? I can point at the things I did, the things I said. And as long as I can do that, then I can sleep well at night.
When you talk of running your own businesses, something stands out about you also in that regard. For most Nigerian politicians, they are briefcase businessmen, women as the case may be. Politics has become their business as opposed to them being able to create jobs for people, and they're living from that job creation before they now step into the political arena. You have stepped way out of that. You've created so many businesses. You're even a movie maker. Your movies were featured at the Cannes Film Festival, the London Film Festival. How did you manage that as well?
Yeah, well, okay. So we didn't quite get to Cannes, but we made Toronto Film Festival. We made London.
Toronto. Yes, my bad.
To me, people say, well, hang on, politics, movie making, we don't understand the connection. And I tell them the connection is very simple. It's all about the image of Nigeria. For those of us that have spent time outside of Nigeria, you know that when you mention Nigeria, sometimes you get, oh, fantastic country, fantastic people. But many a times, what you hear is the hush puppy version of Nigeria.
Of things.
You hear about fraud. You hear about political violence. You hear about all sorts of things. It's the same thing about the image of Rivers State and the image of Rivers people. Some people say, yeah, Rivers people, no. Somebody like you, you're not the kind of, you can't handle Rivers. But I tell them, I say, Rivers has some of the most enlightened people. In fact, if you listen to even some of the militants speak, you'll be wondering which degree they have. So the reality remains that we in Nigeria have to be bothered about our image, especially when you have to engage with other, continents and other citizens from different parts of the world. So I was very particular. The first time I went to America, I went to the US, I couldn't believe what I was seeing. I thought the streets were going to be paved with gold.
The fantasy,
the image I had was not the image I saw.
Yeah.
And I realized that I had been fed these images through the television screens. And I felt that one of the biggest challenges we have in Nigeria is orientation. Many people don't realize that the problem comes from the way we think. And I just go back to a phrase where they say, you are not what you think, but what you think you are. Because people's thinking and their mentality is what determines a lot of things. Attitude determines altitude. Your attitude is important. So for me, I felt that we had a responsibility to drive a positive image. And I'm so glad, especially with the last movie we did, 76, where people outside of Nigeria saw the movie and thought, wow, is that Nigeria? And we didn't just talk about fiction. We looked at something that really happened and based a story around that.
Yeah.
And so for me, even the next movie we're doing is all geared towards sending a positive signal for Nigeria. So it's the same thing for politics. When everybody thinks of politicians, the negative image of politician is what comes up. Even people say, you're a politician and you're proud. I say, of course I'm proud. I'm a proud politician because I am not like the politicians you think I am. I am like the politician I know I am. And the politician I know I am is a politician that even you would be proud of. So I am in politics to correct things. I am in the movie industry to correct things. It's the same mission. It's no different. It's just a different medium.
That's a very interesting perspective, because I've never really looked at it from that point of view. So you're telling the story of the change that you want to see, more or less, using the medium of television. Now you're a high-ranking member of the PDM at this point. There's something going on there. And what I think is going on there, which you will have to tell us and the viewers as well, is PDM is not a political party. It is a movement. Are you stepping away from running for the office of governor of Rivers State? Or why is it that you have chosen to be much more active in a movement than in the political party?
Well, I think the correction I would like to make is that PDM is not a stop and start thing. PDM has always been around. PDM preceded me in politics. PDM was the foundation of PDP.
Yes.
The PDM family that formed PDP. And after they formed PDP, PDP went on its way. PDM remained. And remains till this day. So it's not one or the other. The idea with PDM is from time to time, people gather. Now, members of PDM exist in different parties, but from time to time, they come together to look at the country, where it is going, and see what way or what methods or what moves can be made to edge it in the right direction. So it's almost like a strategy team that is constantly in play. So it's not one or the other. I'm still an active member of the APC. I am involved in activities. But to the question of whether I want to step away from running for governor, I think it's not so much as wanting to step away from running for governor. It's simply that I am not seeing a situation where I will be stepping towards running for governor as things currently stand. I don't know if you know about the APC in Rivers State, but it's in crisis.
Yes. Well, the whole APC nationwide.
Well, yeah, but nationwide, there's been some healing. And even though it's still very dynamic and it still requires a few iterations before we can get to what you might call stability, but there's a process that has been kick-started. It's not the same in River State. In River State, we have a lot of factionalization and a lot of arguments, and I have chosen to play a more peacemaker role to say, gentlemen, we don't need these fights. Let's avoid these fights so that we can move the state forward. PDP is not providing us alternative. The people expect the APC to provide them the alternative. If the APC is in crisis and factionalization is rife, there's no way that we can provide this alternative. So how does one, in that kind of a climate, start thinking about contesting for governor? The APC, as it currently stands in Rivers State, cannot win an election. It's not possible.
That's a hard truth they are telling them.
Yeah, they can't win an election. They're not in a position to win an election. And I joined them in 2017 in advance of 2019 because I felt that they would provide a better alternative to PDP government in Rivers State. And when I joined them in 2017, I made a very strong and very poignant statement. I didn't have to, but I made it. I said, I'm not joining APC to contest. I'm not running for governor. I'm joining APC to help build APC to provide an alternative to PDP. Because don't forget, I had left them leading up to the election because Amechi chose not to support me and he was going against Jonathan, and I felt, no, that would not win. I was thinking of the state, and I was right. We didn't win the state. APC did not win River State. I felt that it would be wise for me to join my forces with APC to fight PDP. Unfortunately, the crisis in APC, which I still believe to this day were exploited by external elements, led to APC not even having a candidate in 2019. Can you imagine that?
I was surprised.
The ruling party had no candidate in a state like Rivers.
Yes.
I'll go into details if you ask me, but APC people were involved in that.
Yeah, but I mean, the viewers would like to know how was that even possible? Because that was a shock.
Well, yeah, I mean, the bottom line at the end of the day is that in politics, you've got to learn to work with the good, the bad, and the ugly. I mentioned here that I am not the violent type, but I'm not afraid of violent types. I interact with them. The same people that these politicians call to go and shoot up places, I interact with them. My message is different. My message is that we can do this thing differently. My message is that if we run the place the way we can run the place, there will be no need for this. Your skills and your talents can be best deployed elsewhere.
Yeah.
Now, the message really is, if we want to move our state forward, why are we fighting and quarreling with ourselves? We have enough enemies on the outside. Amechi as an APC key player, is seen as a potential candidate for 2023 presidency.
Okay, that's a new one.
He's seen as, and he, I know, has not indicated any interest.
Okay.
And the reason he has not indicated any interest is because he knows that it's too soon, number one. And number two, you don't win presidency of Nigeria by being desperate or overambitious. It's
Okay.
It's a collegiate effort. People have to gather around and say, let's support him or her. That's how it works. So you can't possibly succeed by being overly ambitious. So he's not thinking in that direction, but people are. And those people see him as a threat. And so it was important that Rivers State does not fall into the hands of Amechi. Because if it fell into his hands, the power he has already is too much for these people. If Amechi produced a governor in Rivers State, it means that Amechi will be more influential in the center than he already is. They needed to weaken Amechi. And in order to weaken Amechi, they collaborated with Wike to make what happened in Rivers State happen. Now, this might be breaking news for you, but those of us in the political class know this for a fact.
Okay.
We don't know the names of the people that collaborated to make this happen. But that is maybe for some memoir that somebody is going to write sometime in the future. That's not for today. So in doing that, they weakened Amechi. And we're hoping that not only will they follow on from that, but they will also remove Ministry of Transport from him and all sorts of things from him so that he will be even more weakened. So inside APC, the internal battle is what played out in 2019. It is what is still playing out today. It is a 2023 agenda for what will happen after President Buhari leaves. People are forgetting that APC as a party may not even win the presidential election in 2023.
Oh, yes.
There are issues on governance that they have not addressed because they are distracted by politics. So I want to just pull back and talk about Rivers State, which is where we were. The same thing is applying in Rivers State. People are worried about 2023 and all sorts of things. People are dying today. That's what people should be worrying about. So
they are in the business of elections, rather than the business of governance.
Exactly. So when you ask me, am I interested in running? I mean, how is that really the agenda for now? I'm not ruling myself out, but I'm not ruling myself in either. And what is important right now is what platform are you going to run on when the platform that you sit on is disorganized? Surely peace is a prerequisite to progress. And if that is the case, then what we should be working on is peace.
Wow. I want to believe that this is the first time that you have spoken so frankly, about what is going on since, the last elections and all that. You have not exactly been engaging with the press. You've sat back to watch things play out.
Yeah, I think you have 2 eyes and 2 ears for a reason.
Yeah.
And only 1 mouth. So I think you should do more watching and listening than talking. And I've spent a lot of time watching and listening. And thanks to COVID-19, we've done even more watching and more listening.
The shutdown, whether we like it or not.
Exactly. So I understand the problems so well. When I hear people talking, APC, I say to them, PDP is worse. They say, but there's no difference. I say, yes, there's not much of a difference between the two. I don't disagree. Especially as you come lower down the ladder, you'll see that the differences are almost like it's negligible. But neither of them have an ideology that underpins them. And in the absence of an ideology, people will move from party to party. In the absence of an ideology, political parties will just, the political party should be giving the agenda. The political party should be the home of the think tank on policy.
Yeah.
The political party should be saying that we want to do free education from this level to this level. And we want any APC state should be following that same principle, because whoever is running for governor on that platform has imbibed that principle. It's not a straitjacket principle that doesn't allow you go a little bit to the left or the right, make some adjustments here or there, but it is the principle on which the party is founded. I have been crying about this thing from the first day I got into politics till as we speak. The politicians don't understand it. And they're not doing anything about it because the people don't understand it either. The people say, oh, this man moved from this party to another party, he doesn't have principles. And I say to them, I say, is it the party that has principles or is it the individual? Both should have principles. But in the absence of the party having principles, you cannot say that the man who is making the move lacks principles. He may believe in free education. That is a principle. He may believe in capital markets. That's a principle. He may believe in government intervention. That's a principle. All right? But if his party has no foundation or no principle, surely he can move around with his principles to whatever platform he can run an election on. We have Ize Ayamu in PDP one election, in APC the other election. Whereas the same person who is contesting against was in an opposing party.
Yeah, so just a switch.
Has now joined. So the people don't see the issues, and that is a fundamental foundation. The problem we have as a country is the absence of internal democracy in political parties. If you now, who has something to offer, arrives on the scene, the only way you can emerge is by a free and fair process inside a political party. If the free and fair process inside a political party does not produce you, how can people vote for you?
True.
So how can you blame the people for the candidates they see? It is not their fault. It's not their responsibility. The political parties present candidates. That is the case. Now, people who wanted to present, who want to support Obaseki would have been sitting down waiting for him to be produced by the party. But the party disqualified him. So what do? Some will say, well, we'll support the party. The party is the party, whoever. Some will say, no, Obaseki is our man. We move with him. Do these people who are now moving with Obaseki lack principles? The answer is no. People move from church to church. Some people are Catholics, they become Protestants, but they still serve the same God.
Yeah, obviously.
Some people are Muslims and convert to Christianity, or vice versa. They still serve God. A politician can change party and still have his principles to serve the people. But he goes to a vehicle where he believes he can achieve success. So I'm diverting because I have so much to say. But you're right, I've not done a lot of talking. I've done more listening.
Yeah.
Perhaps I should be doing more talking.
Well, we would hope so, because I'll still refer back to the last interview that we had with another politician, and he was saying that there are now calls for there to be a fresh movement in on the political scene in Nigeria, because of this same challenge that you have also pointed out today, which is the issue of internal democracy in the existing parties, where qualified candidates just do not get the light of day. People that have ideas are looked upon as political nitwits. They don't understand politics, forgetting that politics is supposed to be run by the people, not by political parties. Are you hoping to do something in that direction? Because I read somewhere that you said a best case scenario would be that you would mentor people, so people who were adequate in knowledge, people who were well trained, people who were knowledgeable enough to be in power, that you would rather mentor them So it is not a case of everything revolves around yourself. Would you be looking at developing or being a part of such movements?
Yeah, I mean, first of all, the idea of, I don't believe in the idea of a third party movement. One of the problems we have, or I have experienced myself in the political space, is that people talk a lot. When it comes to time for action, it's a different experience. People don't have the kind of conviction that is required. We started this interview by talking about conviction. And I find that lots of the political class that I engage with and people who want to get involved in the political class don't realize that this is a very uncomfortable business. I've had to sell my cars to run an election. If you can imagine, I've run for governor twice. I've never held a political office. And it's not like I had a godfather. So it means I was using my own money. So I've had to sell property, sell things just to run an election. And I didn't win. So it's not like I ran the election, then won, and then used political office to recover my funds.
Yeah.
I've done things off steam. Of course, well-wishers, people have contributed their time, their money to what I'm doing. But, a large percentage, if not majority, 90% of the funds that have gone into the politics I do comes from my pocket. So, it's difficult. And I'm talking about a governorship election. Talk less of an election that needs to be nationwide. Now, many of the people who contested against Buhari and what's his name, Atiku, this life, most of them didn't have the funds to mount a challenge to these people. Politics is expensive. We don't have a campaign contribution limits like some countries do, where there is a hold on media expenditure. Here, people spend billions to run for office. And the only people who can afford to run for office are politicians, because they use the money from the politics, in other words, from the government. So APC will use APC money wherever they can get access to it, that be it governors or be it people at the national level. PDP people will do the same. Now they're not at national level. They will do what they can using governors. And then, of course, there's no way that you will be in a political office that you won't have business friends. Those business friends will bring money. This is the reality. Everybody knows it. People may not say it, but that's where the money comes from.
That's where it comes from.
Yeah, if you want to now challenge that system, where is your own money coming from? It's coming from your pocket. How many people can challenge a government? I know, I will never forget, there was one election I contested as local government elections in Rivers State. I contested election, then Amechi was governor.
Okay.
And I was in Action Congress, he was in PDP, and we're fighting a local government election. He had entered government in October. This election was in January. I'll never forget. I spent my money, my own money, for those elections. And across the whole state, I spent about 80 million naira to do those elections. At the end of the election, we won, I think it was in total about 13 local governments out of 23. We defeated PDP. I got on a plane to join my family. They were in Portugal already. Usually we spend Christmas, New Year's in Portugal. I got on a plane to join them in Portugal. By the time I landed in Portugal, my people were calling me that the results have been changed. I was so angry. I said, look at this PDP that I'm collaborating with. They are there, I'm here, they are there, but we said we're going to do things the right way. Look at what's happening. When I called various people to complain, you know what they told me? They say you spent 70, 80 million in a whole state. We spent that kind of money in one local government. How can you beat us?
Can you imagine?
That was what they said to me. Now, how can you beat us? I don't want to call the person's name that said this. They said, how can you beat us when we spend That money that you spent across the whole state, 23 local governments, we spend it in one local government.
As regards what we are just saying now, one of our viewers, Princess Pamela Tonye Princewill, says a total rehauling, a total wipeout, sad sorry case.
Yeah, but you see, I'm an incrementalist. I don't believe in 0 to 100. I believe that you make steady steps, and at some point, the dam will overflow. It will break, and the flood will come in. It's like what is happening with Black Lives Matter now.
Yeah.
You know, at some point, people will be disillusioned that no, nothing's going to change. Somebody is shot, somebody is killed, somebody is strangled. This happens, that happens. No consequence. And some people would have given up, they would have lost hope. But they didn't realize that all those things were a build up to George Floyd. And that when George Floyd happened, all that pent up frustration created it. People think that it's because of George Floyd that
No, it's not. That's what we call the tipping point.
Exactly. So everything that is happening, why it's important that we speak about it, why it's important that we tell people what's going on, is so that when that tipping point comes, when that George Floyd moment comes in Nigeria, that pent-up frustration will lead to change. I, as an APC person, would argue that what we're seeing even today is part of that pent-up frustration. The anti-corruption talk and anti-corruption, Nigerians don't buy it. They don't believe that anything is happening. And because of that, the government is seeking to continue to push to show that no, please buy it. We're working. If the public was not so skeptical, the government will sit back and rest on its oars. They're not doing that. They're worried. APC is going into 2023 conscious that they may not win the election. And why? Because the people are dissatisfied and are expressing their dissatisfaction. So it's important that we keep politicians on their toes. But the answer is not, oh, PDP, because PDP smartly will hide behind the people and say, look at what APC is doing. Look at what APC is doing. Get rid of them. Get rid of them. And Nigerians are fantastic at analyzing the problem, but completely hopeless when it comes to giving solutions. Completely hopeless. And unfortunately, it's acceptable. You can complain about a problem without providing a solution, and it's okay. Nobody asks you, okay, what is the solution? They just say, yes, he's saying the truth. Oh, he's saying the truth. Okay, he's saying the truth. What's the solution? You people, the politicians, you people now, you people should. Oh, the same people who created the problem are the people that will give you the solution. Surely not. So the point to make is that as an incrementalist, which I am, is you have to keep pushing. The South Africans were pushing. Who saw it coming? They didn't. It was just apartheid. How are you going to get rid of apartheid? Governments around the world were turning a blind eye to what was going on in South Africa. Look at what's happening now. Facebook was forced to change its policy on things like what fake news that Trump was posting, simply because the advertiser said we're pulling out. So it's momentum. Don't lose hope. Don't get frustrated. But the reality remains that unless people go and try and fail, people will not realize there's a problem. They'll think it's fine. Until people choose to speak, like in interviews like this, some people will not be aware. But like I said, I not only understand the problem, I understand the solution. On each and every on every part of this thing, I've played the politics, so I understand. This is what the politicians do. Okay. I am not just sitting and criticizing from outside, which most people are very comfortable doing. I have gone in, and by going in, I've taken responsibility. I'm also called a politician, even though I've never won an election. I've never held a political office before, but people describe me as a politician. When they are abusing politicians that have stolen money, they add me into it. Meanwhile,
you haven't benefited from it so far.
Yes, I'm spending my own money. No political appointments. We will fight, we will walk. Now I sit back, I say, okay, I'm not contesting. I fought for Tonye Cole as the candidate of Rivers State. When he was disqualified, all candidates were disqualified. I fought for another candidate, Mr. Awara.
Yes.
I used my own money. Nobody came to me and said, Tonye, thank you very much for all your effort. Here you go. But I'll be back again, fighting again, talking to my friends. Even if I'm not running for election, let's help whoever is running. But not everybody will do that. And there are lots of people who will complain and criticize. But if Tonye comes out tomorrow and says, please, can you people also make a contribution and help support me? They'll say, say that one, how can he be asking for money? Doesn't he have money? Do you see the problem? So in America, Bernie Sanders is getting $5, $10, $2,000, $100. People are contributing towards a political campaign. They are part and parcel of it. How many Nigerians are contributing to political campaigns? So when people talk about third force, third movement, I just smile because I've tried it. And I know that in the end, you as an individual are on your own. The people may love you, they may wish to support you, but why sometimes you find even the poor women. I've been on campaigns where old women bring out 200 naira to contribute to me. I've been on campaigns like that.
Wow.
Whereas I have friends that have millions that will not contribute to me. And they're my friends. But they'll say, no, Tonye can't win. Number one. Or number two, if I give Tonye and the other party hears that I gave Tonye, they can spoil my business. How many businessmen in Nigeria are running businesses that can survive any government?
We are all dependent on government. A lot of them.
Many of them are. Many of them are. So we have a big challenge. And education is very important, but it's very difficult to educate people who are hungry. That's why I said earlier on when we were speaking that jobs, the more people that have jobs, the faster this country will move out of where it is. And that's why politicians are hesitant sometimes to create jobs for the people, because if they give them jobs, they will have their independence. They don't need you to feed them. They feed themselves. And when they feed themselves, they will talk and speak freely as they feel. And when the politician comes along with his goodies, they will tell him to go to hell. Or they will collect the goodies, but they will vote their conscience. And they will stand and enforce it. But now they're hungry. I mean, you're blaming the people. How can you blame the people? They're hungry. People are trying to put their children in school. People are trying to survive just to stay alive. And me as a politician, I'll be blaming them for their maybe inability to come and die for me. Do they know that I am different? Maybe not. Maybe they think I'm just one of the same. Be bothered about me.
We always overrun of this our program, simply because we always bring on some very, very interesting folks. You, of course, are one of them, one of the heavyweights, because like I said, I would have announced you the same way I was going to announce the world heavyweight boxing champion.
You're too kind. I'm not even welterweight, Seth. Talk less of heavyweight.
simply because I have studied you and I have seen quite a few things that you have done so far, which are quite impressive. Not just as a Nigerian, but as an indigene of River State, as a prince of one of the most important kingdoms in Nigeria, as an engineer in the petroleum industry from an oil-rich region where there are so many temptations, so many complexities rolled into each other. But you have been able to maintain your humility, you have been able to maintain your balance, and you have been able to maintain your focus, and nothing has ever changed. The same thing you were talking about in 2007, in 2011, it's still the same thing that you're talking about today, which is jobs.
Yeah, jobs. That's the big problem in Nigeria.
On the final,
It's easy to create.
If you say, well, you know, on the final note, I was going to ask you a question. But now that you say it's easy to create jobs, I'd like to ask another question, which is this. How do you have jobs without infrastructure?
Infrastructure is being built. So this government, and I know people don't want to hear this, but this government has done more with less as far as infrastructure is concerned. Now, have they done enough? Absolutely not. I mean, the infrastructure deficit is unbelievable. It's ridiculous. So yes, they've not done enough, but infrastructure is building. I think what we have to understand is that really, because of the years of decay, the only way you can truly close that gap is to generate money from a variety of sources. I can see that they're doing a lot in terms of taxing. People don't like it, but that really has to happen. In fact, the more people pay tax, the more involved they will be, because I can't be paying my tax to Wike, and Wike will be doing what he's doing with my money, and I will keep quiet.
Yeah.
So, you know, taxation is important. It's actually part of and parcel of being a citizen, because just as you have rights as a citizen, you also have responsibilities. So there's tax, but one of the key ways is inward investment. Inward investment. All right. I mentioned Tinubu. Oh, people complain about Tinubu. Where did he get his money from? This. TVC news channel, Nation newspaper. All right. Businesses, employing people, generating wealth. Atiku. These are people I've worked with before, so I can speak about them. Job creation. So creating jobs is not hard. What you need to do is you need to encourage people who have money to spend the money. In Rwanda, the president of Rwanda called all the people that had cash. He knew. He said, gentlemen, I can see what you people have been doing. You people have been doing well for yourselves. Oh yeah, you have to invest that money here. So people have money, but is it being invested? Instead, we see people gathering money, owning so much wealth, but they're not able to take that wealth and those assets and convert them into something that actually creates jobs for people. Because the environment and the climate for jobs is not healthy. I run businesses. In this COVID-19 era, you can imagine what we've been through. We've been through hell.
Yeah.
But we're still standing. Now, government should be giving support to businesses to keep people in employment. But that's because of COVID. I am saying even before COVID, government should be giving help to businesses so people can employ more people. All right? There's so many things, so many initiatives, from security to environmental sanitation, so many things that can create jobs. And I can see that something is happening now under Ministry of Labor to create 774,000 jobs. Fantastic. What the government needs to understand is that it is their responsibility to create the environment for business to create jobs. And if you cannot do that, then as a government, you have failed. And once you take that responsibility on yourself, just as they take responsibility of providing security for the citizens, security is not just physical security, it's also social security. Yeah. Do I have enough resources to send my children to the hospital in case they're sick? Do I have enough resources? Well, maybe I should be providing free education and free health. Even if you cannot provide free secondary healthcare, at least primary healthcare, provide it. Where is health insurance? Where are all these schemes? Why are they not working? That's social security. So government have to take a responsibility that, look, this is what we're, and this government, to be fair to them, are more interested in masses welfare than previous governments before it. Is it enough? No. There should be more school feeding programs. There should be more free education programs. There should be more free healthcare programs. But is there a collaboration between state governments and federal governments? I'm not seeing it. I'm not seeing it. But if there's a lack of ideology, then there's no foundation principle. People are just, one government leaves, another government comes in, they cancel everything the previous government has done. They start again from scratch. So you know, if you line up the two parties, APC, PDP, I prefer APC for a variety of reasons, but I'm still not satisfied with APC as a party, as a government. There are lots of things that we could do differently. But what can we do? We can only stay from where we can and make suggestions.
Tonye Princewill, you have given us much more insight than most politicians have in a long time.
Thank you.
You have discussed stuff that the mainstream media has not been able to tell us so far in terms of your interactions with them, and then passing that message across. They have not even told us half of what you have said so far. This has been very deep, very insightful. And I know this is also only part one, because we have only been talking about politics. And for a man like yourself that wears so many hats, we have not even spoken about your entertainment business. We have not spoken about your interests in terms of your activism in the Niger Delta region when it comes to the oil spillage.
Yeah.
There's so many, moving parts that I'm sure we could talk for 24 hours and people will still sit down and listen because there's so much you have going on. We're looking forward to having you again very soon, not in the distant future, very soon. And then we will pick up from where we left off, which is talking about your entertainment business and also talking about your activism in terms of the oil spillage in the Niger Delta. We appreciate you coming on.
Thank you.
And hopefully we'll see you again very, very soon. You have a great week.
I look forward to it. I really do.
Thank you, my prince.
Thank you. Goodbye, everybody.
That's been a brilliant interview with Princewill. And it seems like we only just started. We've had the discussion and we've overrun as usual, but this time the overrun seems like it was the interview was only on for 10 minutes and it's been on almost an hour and a half. He has quite a lot to say, like he said. He only said the tip of the iceberg. There's so much more going on deep underneath that mountain of knowledge and compassion that is Prince Tonye Princewill. And that is why we call him the Prince of the Niger Delta, because of his interests in the goodwill or the goodness of his people, their health and their welfare. And like you heard him say again, social security. It is very, very important for them to have free healthcare, free education, and an enabling environment to thrive by having their own jobs. We hope to see you all very, very soon again, probably next week, where we're going to be having another politician, simply because we are speaking about APC, and we're going to bring on somebody from the APC, another high-ranking member of the APC, who has something to say in terms of the issues going on in the APC. And I'm sure you guys would love to hear it, because this particular fellow is a fantastic guy when it comes to expressing himself. He doesn't pull any punches. He says it as it is. So see you on Thursday, 8 p.m. same time. Stay safe, wash your hands, social distance, and please, please, please say no to rape. Follow our rape campaign. I'll put the hashtags on the screen again, as I usually do. Please spread the word. We need to keep our women safe. We need to raise healthy children. Children are very vulnerable. So both male and female children are being violated. We need to protect them. Please support this campaign. Make your voices heard. Use the hashtags on the screen. Hashtag no excuse. Hashtag no to rape, so that people can hear you. Support that fantastic young lady who sang a song called No Excuse. Her name is TY. You can find her on Spotify and a host of other platforms, so that we can keep the momentum going for these campaign. You have a great and fantastic night, and we'll see you again on Thursday. And remember, your mama na woman too. Say no to rape. Good night.